I need a new pair of pants. So right now it's the end of May and I'm thinking towards summer, and I work with kids. And normally in the summer, I like to wear flowy dresses, flowy skirts. I tend to run hot. But when I'm going into people's homes and I'm working with kids, I'm sitting on the floor, I'm crawling around, and that's not the best position to be wearing skirts. So last year I made myself kind of a flowy pair of black pants, and I wore them at least once a week. They were awesome. So I decided I need a new pair. And sometimes I trace items of clothing I already have and make a pattern off of that. But today I just want to follow a pattern that's already laid out for me, make it super simple. So I'm going to be using one of Mood's free patterns on their society. It's this Linda pant, and it has an elastic waist. It has this cool pocket detail, and it's made for like a comfortable pair of more dressy pants. But I'm going to make some changes to it so it fits my needs a little better. And I have the perfect fabric for these pants. So let's go into the sewing studio. Okay, so I was ironing my fabric. So this is the fabric that I'm using. It's a linen. It's pretty heavy. But it has this like dark tie-dye that kind of looks like big flowers. So I think it will be a nice fabric to make some pants out of. Then I can wear it with like a black t-shirt, blue t-shirt. I have some options. Okay, and I also already had the Linda pant ready to go. I had made it before in this fabric that I got from Fab Scrab. That's this plaid. And I made this as like a dressier, slim fit pant. But this I didn't add the pockets to. Big mistake, big. But I didn't have enough fabric. That's why I didn't do it. I had enough fabric to just make these. So I'm going to use the original pattern, not the one that I traced and altered for these pants. Okay, so if we open my little pattern envelope here, I always keep all the sizes in my patterns because sizes change, life changes. So I want to make sure I have every size. So if I want to go back and make a pattern again, I can change the size, whether I want to change the silhouette of the pattern or, take things in, make things bigger. So I always keep every size. So this is the front. This is the back. This is the pocket. It's a pretty big pocket, which is nice. Oh, because this you fold in half. That's why it's so big. And then these are the alterations that I made. I traced them onto this tissue paper to make it easy to cut out for my other fabric for those other pants. But I'm not using these, so I can put these aside. So part of me wants to trace out the size that I want from this pattern to make my fabric pieces as accurate as possible. And part of me doesn't want to do that and just fold up the sides and kind of trace along to get the basic idea. And I think I'm just going to do that because I'm also going to make these like wider legged. I don't want it to be the taper leg. I want it to be straight legged. So I think I'm just going to do that. I hope I don't live to regret my decision. Okay, I lied. I didn't know I was lying at the time, but I'm going to trace this out in the right size because it's going to make cutting the fabric so much easier. And I like this silhouette. Like, I like the wide-legged, elastic waist pocket pant. So I will probably be making this again in the future, and then I'll just have my pattern pieces ready to go. I'm really just trying to not make shortcuts. I'm really trying to do every step correctly and not rush things so my garments come out better every time. And it's a lesson I learned time and time again. I might have said it before, but when I rush something or I skip a step, it never comes out as nice. And then I like know and can tell on the garment the whole time that I'm wearing it. Like, I stare at the mistake, or I'm like, oh, I should have taken my time or done this differently. So I will probably skip steps in the future, but I'm really trying to be aware and slow down, take my time, do everything as correctly as I can, and just have better finished garments. My lesson for the day. So I'm going to finish tracing. These are the back pant. I'm tracing a size 12. And I will leave, I'm making them as long because they're pretty long. I'm just going to leave them as long as they are, and then I can hem them at the end to the length that I want. Let's continue.
So I traced the top of the pant following the size 12 that I was using. And then when I got to the outer seam where it curved to make a taper leg, I went from the hip point and went and drew a straight line down using my ruler. And I did the same thing on the inside leg to create the wider leg instead of the taper leg. I just want to apologize because at the time of this voiceover, I am really getting killed by allergies. So if I sound a little stuffy, that's why. Shout out to all my allergy sufferers out there. So made sure to label the pattern piece, what size it was, and include the grain line so I know where to lay my pattern piece on the fabric.
Okay. Before I get to cutting my fabric, I'm gonna have some lunch. So I'll see you soon.
And with my fabric all cut out, I could get to sewing. The first thing I needed to do is take my leg pieces, I believe this is the front piece, and pin the center front seams together. This made it easy because when I cut the fabric, I kept right sides of the fabric facing. So I was just able to remove the pattern piece and pin them and sew them. Then I pinned and sewed the center back seam. Then I took those pieces over to my overlocker and finished both the center front seam and the center back seam.
I have to say, this is just so nice. I haven't been able to sit and just follow a pattern and sew. It's been a while. And this is just like really nice. Working with like pretty fabric. It's easy to use. My last video, I fixed some objects in my closet, and that's always a little more stressful and challenging just because you're not working from a blank slate. You're trying to like fit seams in and measure fabrics and fit them into these already created spaces. So just sitting and creating something from scratch, this is just like so lovely. And thank you for being here with me. Okay, next up, I pinned the pockets right sides together to the front of the pant. And I'm going to just stitch from the inside down on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the pocket sewed. And then it says to snip in the corner. One snip, two snips. Turn the pocket over. I'm gonna press it flat and then top stitch around, there's a little fly in here, and then top stitch around the pocket. So reading the instructions again, supposed to sew, so here's the pocket. And then I was supposed to sew up too. And then this clip is supposed to go like in that little corner. So now when I flip, sew the pocket or iron the pocket flat, I can then top stitch around. So I'm just gonna go back and iron the top part and then top stitch around the pocket. And we'll be back on track. Look at that top stitching. It's looking good. Okay, so I I pinned the pocket. Show you the other side. So hold on. Okay, now you can see better. So I'll demonstrate on this side. I took the pocket, I folded it to meet the outer edge here to kind of close that. And then I pinned, and I'm gonna sew just up here and down here. I kind of had to like unfold this because I want to make sure to close here, and I don't want to sew on the pant. I want to keep it in where the inseam would be. So I'm gonna sew here and here to close up the pocket.
Yeah.
They give you written instructions, but it's definitely not as detailed as if you would buy a pattern. And you have to use the pictures along with the written instructions to follow along and figure out next steps. So after they talk about the pocket, they jump right into folding down the waistband, but I have to attach the front legs to the back legs. So it's going to be a little interesting because I have this like pocket piece that's sewed down, and I don't want this seam to be bulky. So I'm going to pin my front legs to my back legs and kind of see how I can maneuver around this seam. Okay, so I pinned. This pocket is kind of weird, like it's a little flipped here, but I think if I just kind of sew across, it will self-correct. And then there's going to be a little more fabric here, which is fine because I'll just chop that off when I serge the seam. So I'm going to sew this side. I'm going to sew this side, and then I'm going to do one long stitch that will just be the whole inseam. And then finish all of those seams on the overlocker.
No.
Okay, can I brag for a second? Look at that crotch seam. Oh my gosh. It's like, oh gosh, I thought it was like perfectly lined up, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. I'm happy with that. I'll take it. Okay, so you saw that I finished the edge of the waistband. I folded it over a 1/2 inch, and then I folded it over 1.5 inches, and I included the pockets. So when I sew the waistband closed, it will also include the pockets, which is nice. And then I'm gonna leave in the back just a little opening so I can put the waistband and slip that in there.
To insert my elastic, I took my little bobkin tool, attached it to one end, and then just fed it through the waistband I just sewed.
No. No.
Once both sides were all the way through, I attached the ends together using some zigzag stitches and popped it through the waistband. Then I took it back to the machine to close up that hole.
So the last thing to do is hem. I'm gonna fold it over once, fold it over twice, hem the bottom, and they'll be all good to go. They're done, and they're cute. No notes. I love this pattern. I'm so glad I traced out my size 12 and it's ready to go for another pair of pants. It'll be super easy next time. I love how the pocket, the top of the pocket's attached to the waistband. I'm definitely going to keep that in mind for other projects with the elastic waist, to attach the pocket to the waistband so it's more secure and you can put maybe heavier things in your pocket, or you don't have to worry about it moving around and maybe like seeing it if you have a lighter fabric. This fabric is awesome, this linen fabric. So comfortable. It's lightweight, but it's heavy enough that I'm not worried about it if I'm like on the floor, crawling around, it like ripping or getting holes. It feels pretty durable. And even though it's a tie-dye, it's like a pretty neutral fabric that I feel like I'll be able to pair it with a bunch of different things. So yeah, great time, great outcome. Still learning, don't cut corners. It's not worth it. Take your time. And even though I took my time and traced out the pattern and kind of did some extra steps, I still finished this in a day. So it's a pretty quick pattern. Hopefully this helps you if you decide to make it for yourself. Highly recommend it. Going over to Mood and getting your free pattern. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on another sewing adventure. Bye.